The first time Captain Jalen Ward saw her, the battlefield was burning. The twin suns of the planet Ilaris hung low on the horizon, painting the shattered terrain in hues of blood and gold. The air shimmered with heat, and the metallic scent of ozone filled his lungs as the last of the explosions echoed through the valley. His platoon had been scattered hours ago. The war was ending, or maybe it had already ended, but the silence afterward was worse than the noise. He trudged through the wreckage in his exosuit, boots sinking into dust and molten glass. Every few meters, his visor scanned for life signs. There was nothing, no movement, no heat signatures, just the charred remains of what had once been an Etherian outpost. The enemy. Until he heard it. A faint rhythmic pulse. Weak, distant, not machine, organic. Jalen followed the sound, pushing aside debris and broken fragments of alien architecture until he saw her. She lay at the center of a ruined temple, surrounded by the bodies of her guards. Her armor was cracked, glistening with iridescent scales, and a pool of luminous silver blood spread beneath her like liquid starlight. He froze. She was beautiful, but not in a human way, more like a work of art sculpted from light itself. Her skin shimmered faintly with bioluminescent patterns, her hair flowed like strands of white fire, and her eyes, half open, revealed a color he had never seen before. Violet, yes, but deeper, like a living galaxy. Jalen's training screamed at him to stay back. The Etherians were enemies of the Terran Union, godlike beings who had once ruled half the known systems. The orders were clear: eliminate all survivors. But this one wasn't a threat. She was dying. Her breathing was shallow, each exhale leaving a faint mist in the air. And when she turned her head toward him, their gazes met for an instant. It was enough, her lips moved. He heard only a whisper, melodic and broken. Tal. Ven Mora. His translator implant couldn't decode it, but her tone carried something universal, pleading. She tried to raise a hand toward him, but her strength failed, and it dropped heavily to the ground. Jalen hesitated only a moment before kneeling beside her. Easy, he said softly, knowing she couldn't understand. You're hurt. Let me help you, her eyes fluttered. Human, she managed, the word distorted but clear enough. He nodded. Yeah, human. A strange smile touched her lips. Then, it is fate. Her eyes rolled back and her body convulsed. His visor alarms went off. Biological collapse detected. She was dying fast. Jalen cursed and looked around desperately. The med packs on her belt were alien tech, incompatible with human systems. His own nanomeds couldn't patch alien tissue. There was only one thing left: a field transfusion unit designed to stabilize cross-species organics in emergencies. But this wasn't meant for enemies. He hesitated, staring at the small injector on his wrist. If he synced it to her vitals, it would feed his blood into her system, automatically adjusting the plasma composition as best it could. It was a gamble. If her body rejected it, it could kill them both, him through neural feedback, her through organ failure. Damn it, he muttered. You better be worth it. He activated the injector and pressed it against her shoulder wound. The device hummed, scanning for compatibility. Warnings flashed across his HUD. Biological risk. Unverified DNA structure. He ignored them. Override Protocol 317. Execute transfer. The hiss of pressure filled the air as the transfusion began. He felt the pull immediately, his own blood flowing out, converted, filtered, and pumped into her veins. She arched suddenly, a ripple of light moving through her body. Her silver blood began to darken, shifting to a luminous crimson hue. Then came the pain. Jalen gritted his teeth as his vision blurred. The connection between them wasn't just physical, something else was happening. He felt her heartbeat sync with his, felt a pulse of energy flood back through the injector into his veins. His HUD short-circuited, static washing over his vision, and then he heard her voice. Not through his ears, through his mind. Why would you do this, human? He blinked, gasping. Because you were dying. You risked your life for mine. You don't even know who I am. Don't care, he muttered. Nobody deserves to die alone. A silence followed, heavy, almost sacred. Then her eyes opened fully, glowing like stars. The bleeding stopped. The wounds closed. The air around her shimmered, and Jalen felt the pressure of something immense, ancient. She sat up slowly, her breath steady now, and looked at him as if seeing beyond his flesh, into his soul. "You gave me life," she said, her words now perfectly clear, translated by something unseen. "And now, I'm bound to you." He stumbled backward, nearly ripping the injector from his arm. "Bound? What are you talking about?" She rose to her feet, weak but radiant, her armor reforming itself through nanite regeneration. "The blood of your kind carries energy unlike any I have known," she said. "It awakened the covenant inside me, the bond between giver and receiver." "That's not possible," he said, shaking his head. "It was just a transfusion." Her gaze softened. "For you, maybe. For me, it was rebirth." A sudden rumble shook the ruins around them. Distant thunder? No, engines. Jalen turned, seeing Terran gunships approaching from the horizon. Reinforcements. If they found her alive, they'd finish the job he'd just undone. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "You need to hide. They can't know you're alive. My people." She stepped closer, her hand brushing his chest plate. "Your people," she echoed, her tone sharp but not cruel. "You mean the ones who slaughtered mine?" Jalen froze. There was no point in denying it. "Yes." Her hand lingered on his chest for a moment longer before she drew it back. "Then it seems I was right," she murmured. "Fate is cruel, but not without purpose." Before he could respond, a surge of light erupted from her palms. The air twisted, reality bending like heat haze. In an instant, the temple walls around them dissolved into shadow. When the light faded, they were gone, transported to a cavern deep beneath the surface, far from the soldiers above. Jalen staggered, dizzy. What did you do?" She turned to him, her eyes burning brighter than ever. "I saved us," she said softly. Then with a faint smile that sent a chill down his spine, she added, "You gave me your blood, human. Now wherever you go, whatever you do, I will always find you." And as her words echoed through the darkness, Jalen realized with dawning horror that the bond she spoke of wasn't metaphorical. It was real. He could feel her heartbeat in his veins. His blood had become hers, and hers was now part of him. 3 days later, the war felt like a dream he couldn't wake from. Captain Jalen Ward sat on the edge of a cot inside the Terran medical station, his mind fogged by exhaustion. Outside, the constant hum of machinery filled the air, the sound of drones cataloging the dead and cleaning what was left of the battlefield. The planet Elaris had fallen. The Etherian Empire was finished. Or so they said. He wasn't so sure anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the alien woman with silver skin and galaxy eyes, the one he had saved. He'd woken up in the medbay after blacking out from the blood transfusion with no record of what happened next. His commanders told him he'd been found unconscious near a crater, with nothing but burned ruins around him. No sign of the Etherian princess. No proof she'd ever existed, and yet something was wrong with him. His body didn't feel like his own anymore. His heartbeat echoed in his skull, louder than before. And sometimes, only for a split second, he thought he heard another pulse beside it, faint and melodic, like a whisper of another life intertwined with his. The doctors cleared him for duty, but ordered more scans. His blood work was unstable, slight mutations, changes in protein chains that no one could explain. Probably radiation exposure, they said. Jalen didn't argue. He didn't tell them about the visions, or how he could still feel the warmth of her hand on his skin. On the 4th night, he woke to the sound of footsteps. He sat up quickly, reaching for his sidearm, but the room was empty. The shadows, however, seemed alive. A shape flickered at the corner of his vision, tall and slender, haloed by a faint violet light. "Jalen," a voice whispered, soft and melodic, echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. He froze. That voice. It was her, Salith, he said, barely breathing her name. A shimmer of light coalesced at the foot of his bed. She stood there, wearing what looked like remnants of her crystalline armor, though dimmed and cracked. Her hair floated as if underwater, and her eyes glowed with that same impossible hue. "You remember my name." she said with a faint smile. Good, Jalen's mind spun. How are you here? How did you even— I never left, she interrupted gently. I'm connected to you now. Your blood sustains me. Your life flows through my veins. I could not stray far, even if I wished to. Jalen rubbed his temple, trying to steady his breath. You're saying what? You're inside me? That's insane. Her expression softened. Insane, perhaps, but true. The Etherian blood bond isn't symbolic, human. It's sacred. When one gives life to another, our spirits intertwine. He shook his head. No, that's not how it works. It was a transfusion, not a whatever this is. Her gaze deepened, and for a moment the air around her pulsed with energy. Your machines cannot understand the language of stars, she said quietly. You shared more than blood that day, you shared your essence. It woke something in both of us. Before he could respond, the medbay door slid open. A nurse entered, holding a data slate. Salith's form flickered like static and vanished, leaving only the faint smell of ozone behind. The nurse frowned. Everything all right, Captain? Your vitals spiked, Jalen forced a smile. Bad dream. When she left, he sat there in silence, his heart hammering. He glanced at his wrist, where the transfusion port had been sealed. The scar was faint, but beneath it, his veins glowed ever so slightly redder than before. Later that day, while undergoing another round of medical scans, the lead physician frowned at the monitor. That's strange, he murmured. What is it? Jalen asked. The doctor zoomed in on the holographic image of his bloodstream. Your cellular structure is evolving. Human cells don't replicate this fast. You've developed energy signatures we can't categorize. Jalen swallowed hard. Is that bad? Bad? The doctor looked uneasy. It's impossible. That night he dreamt of her again. But this time, it didn't feel like a dream. He was standing on the same battlefield where he had found her. The stars burned low and cold, and Salith was there standing barefoot among the ashes. Why are you showing me this? He demanded. I'm not showing you anything, she replied. You're seeing through my memory, he frowned. You're in my head, she smiled faintly. And you are in mine. When he woke, sweat dripped down his face. His pulse was racing, but worse. He could hear her pulse too, steady and calm inside his mind, as though their hearts had merged across distance. The following morning, orders came in from command. Jalen was to report for reassignment to an off-world base on Kepler 9. Fresh start, they said. A chance to rest. But as he packed his gear, a faint hum filled the room. The air shimmered. He turned, and there she was again, standing between him and the door. You cannot leave, she said softly. He froze. You're not real. You're some kind of hallucination. Her eyes glowed brighter, and suddenly the metal walls around them trembled, as if reality itself bent to her will. Do you feel this? She asked. The vibration? That's not imagination. That's our connection. Every time you try to leave, the bond pulls us back together. Jalen took a step back. Salith, listen, whatever this is, we can fix it. The scientists, they will cut us apart, she said sharply. They will study you, cage me, and drain the life you gave. Is that what you want, my savior? The title struck him harder than any accusation. I didn't save you to own you, he said. I saved you because it was right. Her voice softened, almost mournful. Then let me show you what your rightness has done. She extended a hand, and against his will he reached out. The moment their palms touched, light flooded the room. Visions flashed before him, Etherian cities made of crystal and light, worlds that floated like petals in cosmic rivers, the cries of a dying empire torn apart by Terran machines. He saw her kneeling before her father, promising to lead her people to peace. He saw her fall in battle. And then he saw himself, the human soldier who gave her his blood, the act that defied the will of both their worlds. The visions faded. They stood in silence. Jalen's heart pounded as he looked at her and she at him, as if they'd shared something deeper than memory. Salith's voice trembled when she finally spoke. You have become part of me, Jalen Ward. My blood is yours. My life, your shadow. You cannot walk away from what you created. He tried to answer, but she was already fading again, dissolving into the air like mist. When the room returned to normal, he was alone, but not truly. In the silence, her words lingered, echoing through his mind like a heartbeat. And then, beneath his skin, he felt it, a faint alien warmth spreading through his veins, pulsing in time with a heart that wasn't his own. Far above, among the wrecked Etherian ships drifting in orbit, something stirred, an ancient signal awakening. She had said the bond tied their souls together. Jalen was beginning to fear she was right. The days after Jalen's failed reassignment blurred together, dissolving into a strange rhythm of fear, fascination, and sleepless nights. He had stopped reporting for medical scans. The doctors wanted to keep him under surveillance, but something deep in his instincts, something almost animal, warned him not to let them take another sample of his blood. He didn't know whether it was paranoia or Salith's influence whispering inside his mind, but he obeyed it. At first, the changes were subtle. He could see farther in the dark, hear faint mechanical sounds from miles away, the whir of drones, the soft, static hum of energy barriers. His wounds healed overnight. When he ran his fingers across a burn on his hand, the flesh knitted back together instantly, leaving no scar. But what frightened him wasn't the physical transformation. It was the voice. It never left him. "They're coming, Jalen," Salith would whisper from somewhere inside his consciousness. "They've discovered the bond. You can't stay here." He'd try to block her out, but the more he resisted, the stronger her presence grew. He could feel her emotions, waves of longing, pain, confusion, and sometimes something darker, a hunger he couldn't name. One night, as he sat alone in the observation deck overlooking the war-torn horizon, a ripple of energy distorted the air. Her form appeared before him, clearer, more solid than ever. She was no longer pale and broken. Her armor gleamed faintly with reconstructed light, her violet eyes alive with strength. "You're healing fast," he said, half in awe, half in dread. Her lips curved faintly. "Your blood carries memory, Jalen. It's teaching my body how to repair itself. You are part of my evolution now," he swallowed. "Evolution? You make it sound like a merger." "It is a merger," she said softly. "Two species made one through sacrifice. The bond is not temporary, it's symbiotic. When I grow stronger, so do you." He rose to his feet, tension flaring in his chest. "Then why do I feel like I'm losing myself?" She stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Because your kind fears what it cannot control." He opened his mouth to respond, but the station alarms cut through the silence. Red lights flashed, and the automated voice blared through the corridors. "Containment breach detected. Alien signal within human facility." Jalen's heart froze. They had detected her. He turned toward her, panic in his eyes. "They'll kill you." Her tone was calm, almost resigned. "They'll try." Within seconds, the door burst open and soldiers stormed in, weapons drawn. Jalen instinctively moved between them and Salith. "Step away from the entity," one of them shouted. "She's not a threat." He barked back. "She's classified as a hostile Etherian remnant," the soldier snapped. "By command order, she's to be detained for extraction." Jalen's mind raced. He knew what extraction meant, vivisection under the guise of research. He couldn't let that happen. He looked back at Salith. Her face was serene, her eyes glowing softly. "Let me handle this," she whispered. "Don't," he started, but it was too late. A wave of violet energy rippled from her body, crashing into the soldiers like a silent explosion. Their rifles twisted into molten slag. The air crackled, lights flickered, and a low hum filled the chamber as gravity itself seemed to bend. Jalen fell to one knee, clutching his head. Through the chaos, he felt her presence flood his mind, merging with his consciousness. "You see now," her voice whispered inside him. "They would have destroyed us both." When the light faded, the soldiers were unconscious, sprawled on the floor. Salith stood unharmed, her wings of translucent light unfurled behind her like living fire. Jalen stared at her in disbelief. "What did you just do?" "I showed restraint," she said quietly. "I could have erased them. This isn't restraint," he shouted. "You nearly killed them." Her gaze softened. "Would you rather I had let them kill you?" He fell silent, torn between rage and gratitude. He didn't know which emotion belonged to him anymore, and which belonged to her. The line between their thoughts had blurred to a whisper-thin thread. They didn't have time to argue. Alarms blared again, security reinforcements inbound. Salith stepped closer and placed her hand on his chest. "We must leave, Jalen, now!" Her touch burned cold and electric, and before he could protest, the world dissolved around them. The sensation was like being pulled through a river of starlight. His body stretched and fractured, and for a heartbeat he saw infinite versions of himself spiraling through space. Then the distortion snapped, and he collapsed onto hard ground. When he opened his eyes, they were no longer aboard the station. They stood beneath a sky of fractured moons, on the surface of a derelict world. The air shimmered with violet dust, and ancient ruins dotted the horizon. "Where are we?" he asked, still gasping. "Home," she said softly. "Or what's left of it." The realization hit him. "Ilaris, the Etherian capital," Salith nodded. "This is where it began, and where we must end it." Jalen looked around. The planet was dead, but there was energy here, something vast and ancient humming beneath the soil. "What are you planning?" "I'm going to restore what was lost," she said. "The covenant that once bound my people to the stars was broken. Your blood reawakened it." He shook his head. "You're talking about resurrecting an empire." "That's madness." "Not an empire," she said, her tone fierce. "A balance. The humans destroyed it out of fear. Now through us, the universe will remember." He stepped closer, gripping her shoulder. "Salith, listen to me. You're not thinking clearly. Whatever this bond is, it's changing us. We can stop it. Maybe we can." She turned to him then, her expression raw, almost pleading. "You don't understand, Jalen. I'm changing. And so are you. The connection between us isn't corruption. It's evolution. I can feel your thoughts before you speak them, your heartbeat before it rises. You and I are two halves of the same pulse now." He opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Because somewhere deep inside, he knew she was right. He could feel her emotions like his own, her pain, her loneliness, her hope. It terrified him. Before he could respond, a tremor shook the ground. Dust rained down from the ruins. Far in the distance, a beam of light shot into the sky, Terran ships breaking atmosphere. They had tracked them here. Jalen cursed under his breath. "They found us." Salith's wings flared, bright enough to rival the dying suns above. "Then they will learn the consequence of tampering with destiny." She turned toward the approaching ships, her voice low and dangerous. "Stand with me, Jalen. You gave me your blood. You gave me your life. Will you deny me now?" He stared at her, this being of light and fury who carried his heartbeat within her, and realized there was no easy choice left. He stepped beside her, weapon drawn, eyes locked on the sky. "If they come for you," he said quietly, "they'll have to go through me first." A faint smile touched her lips, equal parts pride and sorrow. "Then together," she said, "we end what they began." Above them, the sky ignited with fire as the Terran fleet descended, and the fate of both species balanced on the heartbeat they now shared. The sky burned with streaks of descending fire. Terran warships tore through Ilaris's atmosphere, their engines shrieking like thunder. The ruins around Jalen glowed crimson under the reflected blaze, the once holy capital of the Etherians trembling under the weight of another invasion. He could taste the heat in the air, metallic, electric, alive. Beside him, Salith stood motionless, her wings of light spread wide, the dust swirling around her like a storm obeying her will. "They won't stop until they've erased us both," Jalen said, gripping his rifle. He could feel his heart racing, though even that felt strange now. His pulse was not entirely his own. Somewhere beneath his skin, he felt another rhythm, steady, eternal, the beat of her alien life interwoven with his. Salith didn't turn to face him. Her eyes were fixed on the sky. "They fear what they don't understand," she said softly. "They destroyed my empire because we refused to kneel. Now they'll destroy you because you defied them." He swallowed, his throat dry. "Then what's the plan?" "We can't fight a fleet." Her gaze shifted toward him, and for a fleeting moment he saw something almost human flicker in her expression. "Regret. We won't fight them," she whispered. "We'll ascend beyond them." Before he could ask what she meant, the ground split open beneath their feet. A pulse of light erupted upward, throwing Jalen off balance. He stumbled backward, covering his face from the blinding glow. When he looked again, he saw Salith standing in the center of a vast energy field, her armor disintegrating into shards of light that orbited her body like planets. "Salith!" he shouted, stepping forward. "What are you doing?" Her voice echoed through his mind, layered with static and sorrow. "I'm awakening the Covenant seed, the source of my people's power. Your blood reactivated it when you saved me. It's the last remnant of what we were, and what we could be again." Jalen's HUD flared with warnings as radiation levels spiked. "You'll kill yourself." She looked at him then, truly looked at him, and smiled faintly. "I already died once, Jalen. This time I live because of you. Don't you see? Our bond isn't a curse, it's creation. Together we can reshape the galaxy." He shook his head, backing away. "You're talking about rewriting life itself. You don't know what that power will do." Her wings unfolded fully, each feather made of refracted starlight. "I know exactly what it will do," she said, her voice trembling between hope and despair. "It will make us eternal." The ground rumbled as the first barrage from orbit struck. Explosions tore across the ruins, fire raining from the heavens. Jalen threw himself behind a fallen pillar, feeling the shockwaves ripple through his bones. Salith didn't flinch. The energy around her flared brighter, forming a barrier that deflected the bombardment. He watched in awe as the Terran assault disintegrated against her shield. "Stop this!" he yelled over the roar of the storm. "They'll keep coming until there's nothing left." She turned toward him again, tears of light streaking down her cheeks. "They don't understand what they're fighting. Neither do you. You gave me your blood, Jalen. Human courage mixed with Etherian essence. That fusion awakened something ancient in both of us. I can't undo it now." He felt her emotions bleeding into him, grief, love, purpose. It was overwhelming. "Then let me help you control it," he said desperately. "We can find another way. Together." For a heartbeat she hesitated. The light around her flickered, unstable. "You still think this is something you can control?" she said quietly. "You don't understand. It's already happening." The energy around her surged again, forming spiraling rings that extended into the clouds. Jalen's visor cracked under the intensity. He could see her changing, her skin fracturing into patterns of glowing circuitry, her eyes burning white. She was becoming something neither human nor Etherian, something beyond both. He pushed through the storm, forcing himself toward her. Each step felt like wading through a hurricane of radiation, but he didn't stop. When he reached her, he grabbed her shoulders, feeling the raw energy pulse beneath her flesh. "You said we're bound," he shouted. "Then if you're doing this, I'm part of it too. You can't cut me out." Her gaze softened, flickering between alien and heartbreakingly human. "You would die for me again?" He managed a faint smile. "No," he said. "I'll live for you this time." Something in her broke then. The light around them dimmed just enough for her to touch his face, her fingers warm, despite the chaos. "Then hold on," she whispered. The ground exploded beneath them as the Covenant seed reached critical mass. A column of pure energy shot into the sky, piercing the clouds, vaporizing everything around it. The Terran fleet above was caught in the blast. Warships disintegrated into dust, their atoms scattering like ash. Inside the beam, time seemed to stop. Jalen felt weightless, suspended in an ocean of light. He could see Salith beside him, her body dissolving into radiant fragments. He tried to reach for her, but his own hand was glowing now, his veins pulsing with crimson and violet light. "What's happening?" he gasped. Her voice echoed inside his head, calm and infinite. "The bond is completing. Our lives, our essences, they're merging fully. You gave me humanity, and I give you eternity." "No," he shouted, but even his voice was fading. "You can't just... It's already done." The light consumed them both. For a moment, there was nothing, no sound, no gravity, no body, just awareness and warmth. Then slowly his senses returned. He was standing on a different world, or perhaps no world at all. Stars hung in the sky like frozen embers, and Salith stood before him, whole again, her wings folded gently behind her. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Between," she said softly, "between what was and what will be. The Covenant seed used our bond as a bridge. You and I are the first of a new kind. He looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly, veins shimmering with violet light. He could feel her heartbeat echoing inside his chest, synchronized perfectly with his own. "So what happens now?" he asked quietly. Seilith stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Now," she said, "we begin again. No empires, no wars, just creation, together." He wanted to argue, to tell her humanity wasn't ready for something like this, but as she placed her hand over his heart, he felt peace for the first time since the war began. Her touch wasn't cold or alien anymore. It felt like home. From the void, new stars began to bloom, born from the fragments of their destroyed world, glowing red and violet, twin lights pulsing in harmony. Jalen turned toward her, a faint smile forming. Guess you really can't let me go." She smiled back, her eyes soft. "I told you," she whispered, leaning close. "When you gave me your blood, you gave me forever." And as their hands intertwined, the universe itself seemed to breathe. Two heartbeats, one human, one divine, echoed through the void, entwined for all time. Where once there had been a dying princess and a bleeding soldier, now there was something else entirely. Something eternal,